think about her pegging him. Does that help? Hopefully that helps you. Start your sublight engines. It's time for RuPaul's Pod Race, a queer Star Wars podcast. Welcome to our discussion of episode 6 of The Acolyte, Teach/Corrupt. I don't know why I said that like that. I sound so excited about corruption. This is just like that episode of the Clone Wars. Anyway, I'm Ollie. I use any pronouns. You can find me on social media at Ollie Fresh. It's fresh with a PH. And my gender this week is a representation for people who are on r/male living spaces.
Please.
Like, I'm sorry, dude. I get that it's like, oh, he's got kind of like, he had Eno Cordova ass hangout. Like, dude, your house is a cave. This is like Obi-Wan Kenobi in his depression den. Like, what furniture do you have? Like, you have a pot to make some random soup. You have a workbench. What the fuck else?
Listen, I'm gonna actually come to his defense. It is not like Obi-Wan's little hovel because he had a hot plate. He had that going for him.
That's
I respect
fair.
that.
I feel like Obi-Wan was just eating like raw meat when he got home. He's like, I can't be asked.
I mean, the original reference would be obviously Yoda and his little hut, but to me it's giving more Maul with his fuck-ass cave.
Yeah. Like, we need to create like a tier list of like fuck-ass caves, because I feel like Obi-Wan is on the bottom, and this one's like pretty high up in terms of like as fuck-ass caves in Star Wars go, but it's still not good. Like, you still live in a cave. Like, that's still a problem, but at least you have a bed.
If I had a nickel for 2 Sith that people find hot that were introduced as dual wielders, who are shirtless at some point and live in a fuck-ass cave, I'd have 2 nickels, which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it happened twice. My name is Klaudia. My pronouns are she, her. You can find me on social media at Klaudia says, K-A-L-U-D-I-A says. My gender this week is Revenge of the Pip. I love how nobody survived except for Pip. Now, we love it when a droid survives. We love establishing that the droids are somewhat sentient. I love how they were like, oh damn, look at all these crazy fucked up bodies of all the humans. Pip's back though, and honestly, I love Yor and I love Jecki, but I was pretty upset when she was like, goodbye Pip, I love you, and I was like, oh man, she got me. So
that's droids' rights.
No,
because
literally.
I think it's droids' rights to be like, I don't care about the non-droid characters that died.
Exactly.
Fuck you guys. Sorry. Also, did Pip survive? Because Pip allegedly got wiped.
Well, he survived and then May killed him, so
that's even sadder.
Yeah, no, that's even more fucked up. But you know what? I believe that he can come back. Didn't that happen to K2 one time or something? I believe he can come back. And him and Basil were very fun to me.
Speaking of them, my name is Melvin. I use they, them pronouns. You can find me on social media at Melvin Culpa. And my gender this week is the Among Us-ification of Star Wars, because Basil was literally venting, May is imposter, and low-key, Kamir's kinda sus.
Soul was doing tasks.
He was doing tasks. Fuck, I forgot. When we were watching the episode, the first thing that came to my mind, I wasn't reacting to like, you know, him having to the actor who plays Soul having this very like emotional performance of like processing grief and anger. I was like, oh my god, he's literally doing tasks. Like when is Imposter going to come and get him? Please.
Area Gen Z absolutely paralyzed by Among Us reference.
I love Among Us.
Speaking of Gen Z, Noah and Jess are not with us. They're stuck behind the storm wall again.
I like that the storm wall has come through time. Like, we're in the time of the Acolyte. They've flown 100 years. They went through the world between worlds to get stuck behind the storm wall.
So you're stuck with
the Mystery Spotcast and Melvin.
2 lesbians and the 1 bisexual discuss the sexy episode.
Yeah, I know. I feel bad for all of our viewers, because I'm like, okay, I'm going to say something. Manny Jacinto, I think is very sexy. Not like to me personally, but I can objectively say that is a very sexy man. Kamir is like, or the stranger, whatever the fuck, because I think Kamir is like a did read, I think it was like a decoy name. It's not his actual name. I almost said stage name. Wow, that was
the artist formerly known as Khmer.
Wait, what would that be? Tafkak? The artist formerly known as Khmer?
Shut up, yeah.
Personally, I think Tafkak, I see the sexual appeal to him. I see the vision. But personally, I was too busy looking at Amandla in that cunty outfit. I am a lesbian. I must stay true to my people. And I think that so many people are like, oh my god, Tafkak is so sexy. That's what I'm calling him, by the way. People are like, Tafkak is so sexy. And I'm like, he's fine. Like, he's Manny Jacinto, very handsome man. I'm too busy looking at her. I'm sorry. I'm looking at her and her beautiful face and her beautiful hair and her sleigh outfit that he just had.
Okay, so I got my ass handed to me on Twitter because I was like, oh, when did he sew that? And everyone was like, girl, that's one of May's outfits. She just, like, stole it. And I was like, oh, I'm stupid.
That doesn't look like May's style, though.
Well,
I think he went to Star Wars TJ Maxx and just kind of, like, saw what was on the rack.
She could have, like, lounge clothes because, like, she has her, like, I'm going out and I'm doing a mission outfit. But she could have, like, those could be her pajamas. Like, we don't know. Like,
I do think that we need to free Star Wars women from having to wear cold shoulder shirts. Yeah, I'm like, it's looking like a torrid in here.
I was gonna say it was giving torrid.
This is the episode with the fat bitches, so we know we're gonna talk about torrid.
Get into it.
The problem is that I've been wearing a torrid bathing suit on this vacation every day. The only thing they're valid for are the bathing suits. They do hold the girls in.
No. I have a torrid bathing suit that I've had since I was like 17 years old, and it's like my favorite bathing suit. Anyway, not about that.
But by the way, for the listeners, I'm recording from vacation. I'm 2 drinks in. So
I know Nona's coming a little bit hot today. She's coming in a little she's had her special drink. So and I'm also having a special drink. It's an iced coffee from Wendy's at 6:40 p.m. Anyway, is there anything that stood out in this episode to anyone? Anything that anyone was like, "Oh my god, I'm going crazy" style?
I will say, when I will talk about Khmer's sexiness, I will have my in a second. I will say, Soul. It is getting a little annoying of, like, we're on episode 6 and it's like, all right, so what did he do? Like, what did he do? Like, all right, let's get to it. Like, let's get to it. Like, it's become ominous enough. Also, I do think that he knew that was May the whole time. It looked like she kind of surprised him, but like, maybe he figured it out halfway through. I feel like he knew that was her.
I think he knew from the jump.
I think he knew from the jump. They didn't even need to get into the tattoo thing. I think he knew. Like, he can sense her in the Force, and it's not his Padawan.
Yeah. I think also it's because he did make that distinction of, like, oh my god, like, how did I not sense that there was this evil Sith the first time we met him? Which is kind of, I think, for a viewer, if you're like a casual Star Wars watcher and you don't really know how it works, that's kind of like a quick, like, thing for the audience of, like, oh, they can sense other people and they can kind of vibe with other people to, like, gives them an in. Speaking of giving an in, sorry, Klaudia. Speaking of giving people an explanation for something, 2 things happened in this episode that made me feel very concerned. And it was Tafkak being like, guys, I have this fucked up scar on my back. And what was the next scene? Vernestra Rowe with her light whip destroying a bog. I'm like, guys, it's so over. Okay, I'm also going to say, I'm going to get on my soapbox. Him being like, my master threw me away. If it is Vernestra, we don't know that that's actually what happened, because he is, like, manipulating. That's kind of his whole thing. And I'm not saying that and be like, oh, he's bad because he's a manipulator. I don't care. I think it's an interesting story. But before we're all like, fuck Vernestra Rowe, let's wait and see what happens. Sometimes information is revealed as you watch. Sorry, was that too mean?
No. So true. Like, yeah, objectively. Also, we know Vernestra historically has had we've seen evidence of, if someone's gonna dabble with the dark side, play stupid game with her, They're gonna win a stupid prize. Their lightsaber's getting fucked up. They are getting their ass handed to them. Shout out Emery. Shout out the fact that Vernestra's ship is apparently called the Canteros. And what if I died?
Oh,
and
God.
what if I died?
It's so fucking over.
And speaking of which, I saw nobody fucking noticed this online. So first of all, we found out in the extra things that they released after that, yes, Vernestra's ship is named the Canteros. If you haven't read the High Republic books, Emery Canteros is her first Padawan when she's like 16 and he's like 14. It makes me cry, whatever. But when they show that ship, Leslie Headland has confirmed that, like, when people have heard certain, like, leitmotifs, certain musical leitmotifs in the score, that they have been on purpose. The Kylo Ren reference was there a couple times. That was on purpose. I think there might have been another one. But the one I freaked out about that I thought was crazy and went crazy stupid because it sounded so different was that they did like one from the Anakin and Padme theme, not Across the Stars. The track Anakin and Padme on the Attack of the Clones soundtrack, and it occurs in other tracks as well, but it is specifically associated with them. It's kind of like foreboding. They played it exactly when Vernestra and that twink Padawan were leaving, and and you see
that Instagram Reels content creator.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Literally. And, like, as soon as, like, you see the ship and you see it fly away, they're playing that scale, whatever. And I was like, oh, like, this sounds and this feels a lot like the prequels. If you go to that exact second and you listen to it, the people don't understand. I was freaking out more about that than I was about the Kylo Ren stuff, because I was like, wait, everybody hold on. We're connecting to the prequels, and I know that's on purpose. It's just, like, a fun fact. I don't know what kind of scale it was. Ollie can correct me on the music theory, but it was there.
I trust. I would have to listen to it. Don't worry, guys. If anyone wants to know, I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And it wasn't just that the notes were the same. It was like the orchestration was also the same. To be fair.
Yeah.
To be fair.
I'm very okay. Also, Mog, Vernestra's little specifically not her apprentice, just a guy who works in her office, which is a hilarious descriptor. I looked at him and I said, I swear, like, that character showed up and I was like, I swear this is someone who I'm like, I don't remember what I said, but I'm like, I feel like I've seen this person on TikTok before. And then I had not, it turns out that person is an Instagram Reels content creator. I had never seen him before. But the great thing is I saw Mog's face and said, that is a face that is an influencer. And I knew that. And I think that that's, like, either a really cool power that I have or a really fucked up, like, downfall of society ability to be able to point out an influencer. Sick and twisted. Vernestra, I hope she gets a flashback. I hope that Tafkak was her Padawan and that there's, like, a flashback and she has hair.
Please. I feel like it's going to be something of, like, maybe not that he was her Padawan or whatever, but, like, that they battled or something, and then, like, she just got his ass in a battle, but he's gonna be like, they threw me away, because when he says they throw you away, whatever, Osha is like, well, like, no, like, I walked away because I felt like I couldn't make it and I couldn't measure up, but he's like, oh, but they threw you away, and, like, he's very projecting onto her.
Yeah. He's
very projecting onto her. Oh, also something very specific, because we were talking about, like, are we misreading Vernestra? Are we misreading him or whatever? The girls were arguing, but then Leslie was talking about it in an interview of, like, is he lying? Is he being manipulative? And she was like, well, no, like, he's saying things he believes are objectively true. And I said this, I think I said it on Twitter or somewhere. I was like, people can use things that are objectively true to manipulate people, both in real life and we have seen it in Star Wars. Either they don't have to lie, cheat, and steal. Like, they can, you know, and he is being vulnerable and selectively revealing certain things to her of objectively true things because he knows what she will empathize with.
Like, from a certain point of view.
Like, I was gonna say, do you think you just fell out of a coconut tree? You exist within the context of everything that you are and everything that has come before. Like, you exist in a context, and he fell out of a coconut tree. He is removing the context. I'm sorry, not to be Kamala pilled right now, but, like,
I just thought of Vernestra Rowe, who's like 100 years old, being like,
she's
you
like,
think you fell out of a coconut tree? It's like, come here.
Vanessa Rowe singing the wrong tune to Wheels on the Bus.
Vanessa Rowe being like, you exist within the context of everything, like, because we have, like, whatever's going on with Sleepy Joe and the Jedi Council, and then we have whatever's going on with the Undershadow Council and Coconut Tree Vanessa Rowe.
Vanessa Rowe is because she's coconut pilled. She's context maxing.
For those of you at home who don't know what we're referencing, there is a quote that Kamala Harris said in an interview.
It was in a speech. She's talking about something that her mother said to her, and she was like, "My mother said, you young people, you all, like, do you think you just fell out of a coconut tree?" And it's like, please look up Kamala Harris coconut tree. It is so funny. Kamala Harris is a cop, but that shit was funny.
I'm so sorry to Vanessa Rowe for comparing her to Kamala. I just had to say it.
I'm really curious to see, like, where this is going to go with Vernestra, actually. Because I think I saw a thread on this today on Twitter that was, like, talking about, do we think that this character was written to be Vernestra, or they needed a character to fill this role and decided it would be her? And I'm very curious to see, because I think it's too soon to know for certain yet. And I know Leslie has talked extensively about, like, the High Republic and about the, like, how much respect she has for the publishing initiative. So I don't want to say, like, oh, definitely yes or definitely no, but I'm very interested to see how this changes that character and, like, where she ends up. Because I think I'm just, it's going to be weird because it's also like, it's like 100 years in the future. It's so much, like, so far away from where we know her as a teenager and where we know her in the books. And I'm ready for the dots to connect, you know?
I will say, when she's talked about, like, including Vernestra or whatever, it was more of, like, I saw this character and I liked her. And also she said that also about Manny's character of, like, he was supposed to be a smaller role to lead into, like, a season 2 or something. And then they did his screen test and she was like, oh no, he needs to be the main event. And so I think that I'm thinking of, like, probably when she read some of the books or whatever was like, oh, like, Vernestra would fit in this story this way and not, let's take Vernestra and whatever. But maybe that's the mark of good writing, who can say.
Okay, guys, I know we talked about not doing fan theories. The buttons have clicked inside my head. Welcome to I feel like a Matt Pat right now. I feel like I'm just going to say it is just a game theory.
Matt Pat, who is currently producing the Your Lie in April musical.
Exactly.
That shit is crazy. What the fuck?
Anyways, this is my conspiracy. This is my Acolyte conspiracy theory. This is how they're taking white people away from Star Wars. Because I believe that Taffy, whoever Ollie is referring to,
Taffcack,
the
artist.
I'm calling him Taffy. Taffy is Imri.
Wait, use the Force to increase his life.
He said he's been
and become
Jedi
Filipino.
for a long time.
Yeah. Wait.
Do you guys
This is crazy.
Yo.
We do need to talk about how he was like, oh, I was a Jedi once, like, a long time ago. And I'm like, to be fair, if you were a Jedi...
What do you mean a long time ago? You're 30.
Well, to be fair, like, if he was just only a Jedi when he was, like, a youngling or something, and then he's, like, in his 30s or 40s, then that was a long time ago.
But it is also interesting because Osha being like, I've never heard of you. When he says a long time ago, do we think that it's like he's used the dark side to increase his lifespan? Because we know that like, you can use the Force to live longer. Do we think that he's like a long time ago, like... Wait.
I mean, it could be like Aslan Rel, to be fair. It could be
yeah.
Yeah, but also I think it would be funnier if he actually never was a Jedi, but he's just using that as a, like, oh, like, it was a long time ago, like, you wouldn't have known me, like, we were in the same
I was
class,
actually supposed to be in the music video.
But I was in Miami that weekend.
Well,
I was on that fuck-ass planet this weekend.
I assume that she's saying that because she's thinking that they're around the same age, but we do know that there are lots of Jedi in the High Republic era, and maybe this because it's 100 years later, there's less of them, that, like, they don't know each other when they're the same age, because, like, some of them grew up on a different, like, they grew up in a Jedi temple that's not on Coruscant, so for her to be like, but I didn't know you.
Yeah, and it also seems like, just based on, like, how it is, I think maybe, like, it's something that as the viewer we can intuit based on her saying, like, I've never heard of you. The idea of, like, a Jedi leaving the Order is probably something that's like, oh, did you hear about this? Like, within the Jedi? Like, I'm assuming, I mean, unless you before you fucking say it, unless you were like, I'm on Corellia and I'm gonna fake my death and give my Padawan my lightsaber, before you bring up Comac Vitus, because I know that's what you're gonna say.
What if it's Comac?
Shut up.
He got younger.
He got younger and Filipino-er.
Through the dark side.
Through the dark? What do you say about Filipino people, Klaudia?
No.
Also, you know what else we need to talk about? I'm gonna say, he has dick out Star Wars character.
Exactly. It's our first dick out Star Wars
Dick
character,
out.
I think.
At least on screen. And also, Osha, she was like, I want to take a pic. She was taking a looky-loo.
To be fair, he was, like, right in front of her, and she was like, whoa.
Yeah.
To be fair.
No, I love...
It was a very Axella moment. I won't lie.
Yeah. Very, very Axella, but if Axel was, like...
evil.
Doing it on purpose and evil.
Yeah.
Well, about that.
Well, Axel, I would say this. Axel Greylark has done some bad things and is kind of a shithead, but he's not evil. And I think that's the difference.
That's fair. Fair enough. You got me
and
there.
It's not what I'm saying. And this is not me saying that Kamir is bad to like, because let me tell you, I like him quite a lot.
Yeah. I was gonna say, I'm gonna say, I know as a lesbian, maybe I'm failing my fellow lesbians. Osha Kamir, there's something going on there. It's feeling a little spicy. And not in, like, the book talk, oh my god, where's the spice way? Because here's the thing, I don't ever expect there to be full-on, like, sex scene in Star Wars. Like, I know Andor kind of was, like, implied sex, but it wasn't, like, an actual, like...
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I need anybody, like, fucking on screen in Star Wars, but I love a little implied fade to black moment, and I'm just saying I wouldn't be mad.
Listen, so this is where I need to get on my soapbox about the terms the male gaze and the female gaze, because I've seen a lot of that shit thrown around. First of all, those terms, like, it started as, like, the male gaze, and it's a very specific thing to, like, visual media and visual communication, because there is a gaze from the camera, and I know a lot of people will say, like, oh, this guy is so male gaze or whatever, and I'm like, unless you're talking about, like, a specific photo shoot or a specific this or whatever, like, there has to be a directorial intent there. It's a specific thing. And I know that a lot of times people will, like, misconstrue it as, oh, well, a female gaze thing want to be sexy means that there's, like, feelings there or whatever, which I think is very reductive and very general essentialist in a way. And the idea of the female gaze might be, who can say? I won't critique the term itself. But what they mean, like, the male gaze is also, this is why a lot of people, when people talk about, like, oh, like, sexuality has gone from major blockbuster stuff, you know, when we talk about, like, you know, men are taking their shirts off and they look pretty sexy, whatever, in, like, a Marvel movie, but, like, there's no sauce there's nothing. And that's the difference between kind of the male gaze or whatever. And the biggest, I feel like this episode of The Acolyte really has, like, a good example of that almost, because you look at maybe an early Marvel movie and he's taking his shirt off and he looks sexy for sure. And then you look at here where he is full body naked. We don't see it, but, like, he is exposed, one might say. And the difference is in not, like, exactly, like, what's being said or what's going on in the scene. The difference is the focus of the camera. It's also, like, a good example is, like, in anime or whatever, when people talk about, like, the male gaze and, like, you know, upskirt panty shots or, like, things on a girl's boob. Like, what is the camera actually focusing on, and to guide the viewer into what they think is sexy? So, like, one thing, and this is a part of the genderedness and this is a part of the patriarchy piece of it, is, like, okay, men think, like, objects, like, objectifying pieces of a body. So whether it's a man's body or a woman's body, and I say men, quote unquote, but like the male gaze is like objectifying a piece of someone's body because they are socialized to often like to the sexuality is objectifying, versus let's look at this scene with Kamir, right? His whole body is out there, whatever, but in every shot his face is in the center. You're always looking, not only because his face is also very sexy, don't get me wrong, but like him revealing himself is literally narratively important to the scene, and also a part of showing that he is very attractive, but that's not the center of the thing, because it's his whole being is attractive. What he's doing is attractive, and not like a piece of his body, which is what tends to be for like the male gaze, which is also why when they're like, oh, we're sexualizing a man so that a female audience can work, but then it's like we're doing it in the Marvel movie way where it's giving us no sauce. That's why people are like, it's giving us no sauce. I'm trying to use these as two different examples of showing a man to like compare the two. So like the term like female gaze is like, people misuse it so much that I'm like, oh my god, you're so, and this is where I compliment the Acolyte, both the direction and the writing, of like you understand it very well, and from a writing perspective, Leslie has talked about it, of like what makes a good like enemies to lovers story. She likes that. She's talked about it. She's thought about it. She's thought about some shit in such depth that it makes me sad that this is an 8-episode series so far. She's thought about it that way. All the people who are directing have worked with her that way, whatever, in a way that I think not a lot others do. But that's just the one thing. The female gaze is also that I want to fuck that man. Anyway.
And that's the only female gaze that matters, is Klaudia's. And that's so fair. I think it is really interesting that, like, the idea of what makes something sexy and, like, why, like, there's so much interesting psychology there. And it's something that I wish I, like, had taken more time to read about in preparation for talking about this in the episode. But I will say, like, this felt, I think there's another sort of thing too, is that Tafkak comes off as very like vulnerable. And I think part of it is like he is clearly more powerful than Osha is, in the way like physically he is more able, like even though it was like, oh, she's holding the lightsaber, I have no doubt that he as a Sith would be able to like work that shit out and get it again. But I think it's a very interesting tactic of him being like, I'm gonna, like, of not only of him, but also like the way it was filmed to sort of disarm, like, to make the audience view him in a way that is like more disarmed and more vulnerable, despite the fact that even though he's technically unarmed and literally has his dick out, he is still powerful. He is willingly appearing as vulnerable. It's an interesting sort of thing that I think ties into what you're saying.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as Klaudia said, like, Headland is writing this show and her writer's room as, like, a seduction into the dark side. Like, I think that it's not unintentional that Osha was holding a phallic symbol and it was like, oh, okay. Do I think that means that she should top him? Maybe.
Yes.
Okay, whatever.
Well,
I feel
say,
indifferent.
I
feel like, okay.
I do love, he's like, I gotta bring her to the dark side. I know what'll work. He's like, I have had these sexual jokes in the chamber. And you know, he waited for her to wake up and then do his little run around the beach. I love his little scheming and planning in his brain.
I wish he was on the beach for Mold.
Yeah. Okay, also, I gotta say, this is a win for gays as well. Because even if you're not into Osha and Tafkak, that's fine. Whatever. Everyone's welcome to their own opinion. We celebrate differences in opinion here. But I also think there was a point where she first wakes up and is like, you killed everyone. You killed Yord. And he's like, oh, he was so quick to turn on you. And she's like, you killed Jecki. And he's like, she would not have been able to feel, basically was saying like she wouldn't have been able to feel like go deeper in that relationship with you. And I was like, okay, I don't know if the wording was intentional to make it sound like there was something going on there.
Everything.
But also as a reminder, Jackie is an adult. She is 18. So before everyone starts being like, but, remember that. But it's
and Padawans can be like, Obi-Wan was 25.
Yeah, and there's also, there's a really interesting thing I saw too about them talking about how, like, it was Daphne Keane talking about Jackie's backstory that, like, I wish we'd been able to see conveyed, but it was like she was always really advanced and wanted to be knighted at the same time as Yord. And Yord was like, oh, well, so, like, she has been doing this for a while, and, like, but this would have been, like, her knight trial, basically. So, like,
she's like,
I think
Vernestra Rowe, if Vernestra Rowe's master wasn't like, yeah, you can be a knight, why not? Fucking we ball.
But the point is, she is an adult. But I think that conversation with Tafkak was basically like, girl, I know you liked her. I know you liked her gay ass, but she won't treat you like I do, baby.
No, and here's like, this is one of the things where I was like, all right, this is a win for the bisexuals, because her face, he was like, I know what you are, bisexual. One, because I'm gonna clock you that you were flirting with that girl, and two, because I know that I can make myself fuckable to you, because I know what you are. Because unfortunately, I know he clocked her as bisexual, because there's two things that bisexuals like: girls and a sopping wet man. He got her ass. Like, he got her.
And you know what else bisexuals love? Having a fuck-ass Bob.
That's true. That's very true. Having a fuck-ass Bob, not being able to talk to a girl, and a sopping wet man. Like, he clocked her. He literally was like, I know what you are.
Girl, you got that late season Legend of Korra haircut. We all know what you are. Come on. Are they kind of Korrasami coded in a way? That's a joke.
Don't piss me off.
Sami, get out of there. You're being reverse Korrasami'd.
Shut up.
The Makora-fication.
Makora if it was good.
Wait.
The idea of us getting the Makora shippers up against Rue Phelps is fucking hilarious. I don't care. They can come for me.
I was an OG Makora. They can't come for me. They cannot come for me.
The problem with me was that I always found Mako deeply annoying.
No, that was my problem. Was that I was like, I like you two together, but you need to step up. And then he didn't step up. Wait, I just thought...
He flopped so hard, fumbled the bag twice.
We're popping big bottles in Oshimir's cannon tomorrow.
Shut the fuck up.
I had to do it to him.
Shut up.
I had to do it to him.
Oh my god. Also, I'm just looking at my notes, about this episode. Why did I write, this was just like Five Nights at Freddy's 2? Oh, I know, because we also have to talk about her putting on Tafkak's funky ass helmet. Girl, that thing probably smells like shit. It probably makes you more greasy. Out. It's just like Five Nights at Freddy's 2, where you have to put on the mask, like the hat, the mascot head, to try to keep them from coming to get you.
I will say, I think it was a really brilliant amount of direction and stuff. Like, in the end, obviously it's a reference to Vader and all that kind of stuff towards the end, whatever. And, like, half the episode, I'm like, I'm kicking my feet. Like, half the episode, I'm like, oh my god, I'm worried soul. What the fuck did you do? The rest of the episode, I'm like, he's so sexy. And the end of the episode, I'm like, damn, shit, the chills. They got me. Shit. I was like, I feel like this goes back to one of the first things that I said was that, like, I like when this show, this is probably a more blatant reference than anything else, but, like, I like when this show, like, does a Star Wars reference, but it's a thematic one. It's like what happens when you put on the mask, what happens when you're alone with the Force kind of thing, because obviously that's what Luke does when he starts training in the New Hope and, like, stuff like that. Like, it's more of a thematic thing, because she, like, understands what a Star Wars is. It's not about the glup shittos. It's about the themes. I think if Khmer got strapped by a woman, it would solve his problems. I would also say in a couple interviews, one thing that like Leslie was like, I wanted to explore was that like they are on an equal footing, like that they are equals, and he is trying to, and the other piece of it that I found like more, sexy rather than was human resources, was that like she wasn't scared of him, she was angry at him. She was like, girl, you killed my dad, and not my dad, like you tried to kill my dad and then you killed my friends. What the fuck? And he's like, well, and then she's like, oh no, he's hot. Kind of deal.
Yeah. I think that's a really good point, is how it's like it's not based in fear, because I feel like a lot of ships that are especially like, oh, it's like it's kind of dark, or it's a little bit like, ooh, it's not convoluted. It's like controversial. A lot of it is like there is so much fear that exists between, especially when it's like a relationship between a man and a woman. You see this a lot where it's like he's a bad boy and he scares her, and that's when I'm like, okay, you can ship whatever you want, but personally for me, that's when I'm out. And I think you've just kind of made that click in my head that's why I'm like, I feel like I can vibe with this when I can't with some other ships, because I'm like, okay, she is not scared of him. She's like, at the very least, she's like, I will beat your fucking ass, even if she ended up not being able to, because again, he is a Sith Lord, allegedly. He's probably, in terms of power scaling, I think he might have her there, but I do think that that's an interesting interpretation, and like why I think this works better than others.
I did see also some people talking about like a forced dyad and the power of two. I think when he's talking about the power of two, I think he's like, I want an apprentice because I want to overthrow my master, because that's pretty Sith coded, or be able to do that sort of thing. But I think that if there was a dyad, it would be between the two sisters, and I feel like that's going to be the whole thing, and that like at the end of the day, the power is between the two of them, and can they realize that and still acknowledge that they are individual people? I did see something very funny where people were like, why don't the Sith use the fact that they're kind of sexy to recruit? And I was like, that's probably why they had to pare it down to the rule of two. There were too many sexy bitches, like, and everybody just wanted to fuck them. I think that was the problem. That's why they had to just keep it to two, unfortunately.
Do you think that's why Dooku was trying to like recruit? Like, he's like, I have Ventress.
Yeah.
Great. Ventress is like, I gotta go. And he's like, fuck. Try Savage, fucking dead. He's like, and then, or like leaves, whatever. He's like, fuck. Then he's like, I gotta get maybe Quinlan Voss up here. He's pretty sexy. Maybe I can use him to fuck. He left. God damn it.
Speaking of which, if you've read Dark Disciple, I think a lot of people, when they talk about like dark romance with like the dark side and like being seduced
the
back
dyke
and
side.
Wait. That's what we should call this podcast.
The dyke side. This is the spinoff. That's the three of us.
But the like. I like, if this interested you, you should go read Dark Disciple, because that is a very interesting, probably one of the first takes of seducing someone to the dark side, literally. I love you, Leslie Headland, but Christy Golden did it first.
Yeah. Only one of you has written for World of Warcraft. So.
No, this is like pitting two queens against each other. I would never do that.
That's so true. A collaboration, methinks.
Yeah, but and every time when someone's like, a sexy Sith, I'm like, first of all, my gender last week was Jedi kebab, and I should have acknowledged the queen who came first, which was Ventress, when she did the whole shish kebabbing a clone and then the kiss thing, because that ate the girls up. Before we had Kamir doing whatever he was doing, we had that. And she was the first sexy Sith. For sure.
Why did she do that? That was fucked up of her.
Because she's crazy and insane, and I love her. And she's an evil man. I'm like, stop. An evil woman, I allow it. And Kamir, I don't allow it, but I will still fuck him. That's the difference. Mel, did you actually have anything else you wanted to say? I feel like I talked too much.
No, I don't have anything to say. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't really care for this episode. Ooh.
Who was shocked? What was,
it was fine.
What was the reasoning?
I don't care for for Osha and Kamir together. I mean, I get why narratively, and like I think it makes a lot of sense on paper. Happy that the girls are having fun. I just am like, okay. Anyways, I want to know what the fuck is going on with Sol and May, and I am more intrigued. I think this is the problem. And it's something that could be, if there is a season 2, get expanded upon, but because we only have like 2 episodes left, I don't think we're really going to get into it. I am always more interested in stories of redemption and then also like
atonement.
Calling it restorative justice isn't quite right, mostly because restorative justice has been co-opted in a lot of ways, but like the idea of May doing all this heinous shit and then Sol being like, bestie, I got something to tell you, bestie, and the two of them just kind of having their like kind of toxic joint slay, seeing what goes on there, what work can be done. I think if we put their minds together, lives could be saved. YouTube records could be broken. I don't know why the idea of them with a YouTube channel, let's talk about it. Watch out, really O2L.
I'll be sad. I think, okay, I kind of get what you're saying though, and I'm gonna say I enjoyed this episode more, but I do think that it's like I enjoyed it more in terms of the existence within the context of this show.
Within the context of everything that came before you?
Exactly.
Sorry.
No, but I feel like it's kind of like I'm beginning to feel like every character in this show is kind of underutilized, and I think it's by nature of the fact that they have such a short amount of time. I wish these episodes, if it was only going to be 8 episodes, I wish every episode was an hour, because I feel like they are working so fast, like, okay, we got to get to the fucking point, where I'm like, I would have liked to see 2 episodes of Osha and Tafkak like hanging out and figuring out what the vibes are. I would have liked to see an entire episode dedicated to that scene in that fuck-ass forest. I would have liked to have seen more time of Osha hanging out with Jeki and Yord. Not that I'm saying like, oh, they shouldn't have died, but I feel like because we had such little time with them, the emotional hit of them dying didn't really hit me all that hard. So I'm like, I just feel like this show needs more time to breathe, and it needs more time for me to understand the characters, because quite frankly, Osha having rage within her keeps getting hinted at, but because we haven't had a lot of situations for her to explore it outside of conversations about it, it feels really sudden that she'd suddenly be so into what Tafkak is saying.
I might disagree with you on that, because...
Oh, so you hate me?
Yeah. Because I think... Well, I don't disagree with you. Let me actually roll that back, because I do think that they could have... If there had been more... Had there been more episodes, I feel like we could have explored this a little bit more. But I think that it is really important that in the flashback episode, one of the first things we see is Osha fucking up that little butterfly creature. That, like, she has a sense of individualism that, like, to a lot of audiences, and especially, like, Western audiences, that comes off as like, oh, that's normal, like, you want to be your own person. But, like, in collectivist cultures, the culture she is from, like, that's kind of odd. And not that that's, you know, once again, these are all things that's, like, assigning moral value doesn't really do much. But I just think it's interesting that, especially because the Sith are so individualistic as a concept, so pick me, one might say. Actually, let me not say that, because I think the girlies will get mad if I said that. But, choose me. Pick me. That is Darth Vader. That's literally Palpatine to Luke Skywalker.
Please.
Anyways. I don't know. I think there's something interesting that I wish we had gotten a little bit more of an understanding. Like, I think that one thing I have enjoyed about this show is that they've been able to show and not tell us things. However, there are some certain things that I wish that they reinforced a little bit more, as opposed to like wasting so much screen time of Soul being like, I'll tell you the fucked up thing I did next episode. Woo, you know?
Yeah. I it's funny, I know you were like, I disagree, but I actually agree with you 100%. I think we're saying the same thing of like, it's the seeds are there. Like, I'm not saying that it's like completely out of left field. I'm just saying I wish we had been able to develop it a little more so that you could get to a point where it's like, yeah, I see how she could be swayed by this man. And I can see how she'd be swayed by this message. But just because of what we've seen so far, it's kind of like, okay, like, she seems like she's very morally righteous and has this very strong moral code, and then all it takes is this conversation to shake it. But it's like, I know that realistically there's more going on there that would make that make sense, but we just needed to bridge a gap that I feel like kind of hasn't been bridged.
And I know Leslie has talked about how like they plan on more season. We don't know if they'll get that. I think they will, considering they said that it's Star Wars' second most successful series on Disney Plus, other than the Obi-Wan Kenobi series. And I just gotta say this: the director of the Obi-Wan Kenobi series is a woman, and the co-star other than Obi-Wan is a black woman. And then this one, the showrunner is a woman, and it stars a non-binary black person. You do the math! Anyway, also just want to say gay people. Just gay people. We can't get into that today. But it's you can tell very much, like, when she's talked about, like, oh, there was things we had to cut or we had to get through or we had to whatever, and hopefully we can get to that. Like, you can tell. And I feel like we say that on this podcast all the time about, like, everything. I feel like I say that about all kinds of TV all the time, whatever. It's getting exhausting to be able, and I feel like this conversation is a wider conversation that everyone's been having of, like, I'm tired of watching TV shows that are, like, a sketch almost, where I get the major beats. Not to say that I don't enjoy myself, because there's a lot of things, I mean, a lot of things I don't enjoy myself, whether it is one that I think is a genuinely well-crafted show, or one that's just like Bridgerton, I watch because it's trash. Like, I feel like I'm getting the sketches, and I know that comes from a capitalistic thing of like, well, if we give people the sketches, they'll fill in the blanks because that's what fandom does, and unfortunately, it's been working for them monetarily, because there's nothing bitches love more than you give us the structure and we fill in the rest because the structure was bad. I said that as a person with a supernatural podcast, okay? So there's a piece of me that is like, it's sad, it's disappointing. I hope that there's more seasons or whatever. I feel like, I don't know. I feel it's, I'm trying to appreciate it as it is. And I do really appreciate the level of thought and care and detail that, like, Leslie has put into this and thought about this and talked to people who worked on Star Wars and otherwise. And like, when they give interviews with her, like, she is like, oh, and I thought about this way. And like, you can tell that from the work. It almost makes me sad, because I'm just like, oh, I want to delve into this more. She's clearly like, she's done so much. She's given this so much meat here, and there's barely a bone to hang it on, in a way, and it almost makes me sad in a way. I mean, it does. That being said, I was gonna say something really heinous about Kumir, but I probably shouldn't. We'll get banned from the airwaves or something. I don't know. One thing that we didn't discuss was when the fuck-ass Instagram Reels Padawan was like, so do you think, like, Soul did or whatever? And Renesh was like, well, that's a big accusation. She didn't say no. Because my thing is, like, because they didn't show Kelnaka, and Kelnaka is the only, like, they didn't show that Kelnaka was dead, and I think that that's on purpose. I don't know if they found him. They only implied it. And then she's like, well, that's a big accusation. And then they're like, maybe Soul did it. I'm like, girl, what did Soul do that all of you were like, yeah, that seems on brand? I guess it's because they never would have conceived of a dark side user, because they haven't had one of those in a while. So they were like, well, it had to be a master Jedi, and he was the only one here.
See, I think it's funny, the idea that Kalnaka, actually, he didn't die. He was fine. He got up and was like, oh, fuck. Oh, I got some crazy heartburn anyways.
Why didn't they think that Kalnaka did it?
Exactly.
Well, they must have found him
Society.
dead.
Hey, wait, guys. Kelknockers? Is that anything?
Oh my God.
Well, maybe if we gotten to know him more as a character instead of a one flashback, maybe that would have hit me a little bit in a different way, but...
Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think we need more. First of all, why don't we have more female Wookiees who play prominent roles?
Exactly.
I need a Wookiee with boobs. Okay, anyway. Do we want to move on?
Welcome to Name That Ship. Basically, this is a segment within our podcast where one of the hosts has scoured the deep, dark recesses of AO3 and found a fan fiction with either a very powerful ship that they just want to bring to the table or something truly, like, conceived by a brilliant mind and needs to be shared with the world because the ship is so esoteric. You can also submit fan fictions. In our show notes, there's a link where you can do that. But yeah, this week I am bringing 2 fan fictions that I found on my ding dang own. Are you guys ready? This fan fiction, this first one, is called The Long Road and the Slow Knife.
Fuck yes.
So here's the thing. This is a crossover. So take that in your mind's eye.
I love when we do crossovers. It's really fun.
I know you do. You always are bringing crossover. So I was like, what if I switch it up? I'm switching the positions for you. Call me Ariana Grande. Watch out, Ethan Slater. That was a joke. The additional tags for this fanfiction are prophetic dreams, prophetic visions, self-fulfilling prophecy, drama and romance, slow burn, friendship/love, blank family drama, fusion of Star Wars Legends and Disney canon, multiple crossovers, even though I'm only seeing one. Crossovers and fandom fusions, crossover pairings. So, get guessing.
You can't tell us any of the other characters?
That's all we got to work with.
I can tell you some of the characters. I don't know if it's gonna be helpful, but
Okay.
I'll tell you this: Han Solo, Leia Organa, Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka Tano, Kira. Original male characters, original female characters: R2-D2, C-3PO, Lando Calrissian, Padme Amidala, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Yoda, Mon Mothma, Firmus Piet, and then two characters that I don't think I can name without it kind of confusing, mostly because I don't know who those people are. So
They're probably Legends characters. Okay.
They're not Legends characters. There maybe be a legend about them. I don't know.
Oh. Okay, wait. So this
is it a Merlin crossover?
It is not a Merlin crossover. But I like where your head is at.
So I'm assuming it's Skywalker family drama.
Yes, it is Skywalker family drama.
Okay. Is it 2 men?
No.
2 women?
No.
It's a man and a woman.
Yes.
Is the Star Wars character... Is this a Star Wars character and a non-Star Wars character, right?
Yes, correct.
Okay.
Is the Star Wars character the man?
Yes.
Okay. Is it
a member
Anakin
of the
Skywalker?
It is Anakin Skywalker.
Okay.
Who is Anakin Skywalker with?
So Anakin Skywalker is with someone from this crossover. So we need to start guessing
Yes.
the crossover. Okay.
So who... Is this Anakin? Or is it like... Okay, I'm just trying to figure out who, like...
With a woman from another thing. Okay.
So here, this is the summary now that you've guessed that part.
Okay.
In a universe where Anakin wasn't scarred, but but still became Darth Vader, he fixated upon a different pretty face who, in spite the abyss she saw in him, would not let him go until he became hers. Together they crafted a darker destiny for themselves in the galaxy. You'd never guess.
So she's an evil bitch?
Well, I think that's kind of reductive.
It's from something that we all know.
Is this a real person?
Well, yes, it is a real person.
RPF?
But it's a fictionalized It's a fictionalized version of this actual person who.
Oh god! So, is it like when I brought the Tudors?
It is the Tudors. Is the.
Didn't we just do a Star Wars Tutors fanfiction?
We did.
Yes, we did.
Or is this a different one? That's crazy.
God damn it!
I don't know enough about the Tutors. I'm trying to think of characters I know. The only one I can think of is Catherine Howard. But
it is Catherine Howard.
Oh my god, Catherine Howard / Darth Vader. This shit is crazy.
But the reason I decided I wanted to bring this to the podcast, though, had nothing to do with any of that. It was the fact that this author has referred to Catherine Howard, the entire fan fiction, as Kitty. Okay. Which, to be fair, that is a nickname for Catherine, Kitty. I feel like I've heard people call Kay Howard Kitty before, but I was just so tickled by Kitty and Anakin. The first time that Kitty Howard ran into Anakin Skywalker, she was assigned to Anne of Cleve's retinue. So true. I always say that.
I'm obsessed with this subgenre we found of like Tutors / Star Wars fanfic. Like,
it's so good.
It's
so mysterious.
I would love to talk to someone who's watched the Tudors because I don't know anything about it.
War of the Roses / Star Wars.
Star War of the Roses.
Exactly.
That's like that would be an answer to a Jeopardy question. You know when they do that where it's kind of like a portmanteau? That's not what a portmanteau is.
It's kind of giving Wait, Don't Tell Me on NPR.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, I know things about NPR. Are you guys ready for the last fan fiction of the day? This one is gonna throw you in for a loop.
Oh boy.
It's called Hide and Seek.
Oh.
And the additional tags, because there's only two characters, character A and character B in it. This era of Star Wars. Psychological trauma, childhood trauma, post-traumatic distress disorder, PTSD, emotional hurt / comfort, sharing a bed, somebody lives, not everyone dies.
Okay. Is this like a rebellion era?
It is rebellion era.
Oh my god. Okay. Because my only thought, I don't know why I'm getting a vision. I don't know why. Okay. I don't know why I'm picturing this being about the Rebels crew.
It's not.
Okay. Fuck. Okay.
All right. Is it 2 men?
No.
2 women?
No.
A man and a woman. So
yes.
A lot of straight pride happening this evening.
Well Pride Month is over. Welcome to what is it called? Ford Truck Month.
Okay. So it's Rebellion era. These are Rebellion era characters, right?
Yes.
They have appeared in media in the Rebellion era? Or they assumedly lived then?
Well, I would say the time in betwixt the prequels and the Rebellion era as we know it is where the media that they are featured in.
Is it The Mandalorian?
It is not The Mandalorian.
No, I was going to say...
Wait. It's between the... Okay, never mind.
Who?
I understand.
So is it Jedi Survivor or Jedi Fallen Order?
No.
Okay, I misunderstood. I thought you meant for some reason I thought you meant the sequels. So this is betwixt the prequels and the Rebellion. So this is like during that. Is this during like the time that Rebels takes place in that like 5 years up until
technically
then?
It could.
Okay.
Oh, is it the Obi-Wan Kenobi series? Characters from the Obi-Wan series?
One of the characters is.
Is it Reva?
It is Reva.
Let's go!
Commander.
Reva mentioned.
Okay, and
now who's her
man? That's crazy.
Who's her man? Who's her man's?
Is he in the Empire?
No. Well,
not
technically.
Not anymore?
Not anymore.
Can you say that
left
again?
the
I just had a...
Empire.
Okay, so it's a guy who left the Empire.
Yeah.
Is it Callus?
It is not Callus.
This is not Rebels characters.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I just think Reva / Callus is funny as shit.
Did he appear in the Obi-Wan series?
No.
Okay.
Is this a character from the movies?
Yes.
Is it Han Solo?
It is not Han Solo.
I don't think that's...
Ron?
Did he first appear in the prequels?
No.
Is he human?
Yes.
Okay.
Is he in the... So he's in the OT?
I never said that.
Oh.
Okay. In Rogue One?
Yes.
Is it Bodhi Rook?
It is Bodhi Rook.
Hey!
That's crazy.
That cooks.
Hang on, wait.
What's the
I'm kind of seated.
The summary just says Reva could save one person on Scarif. She chose him.
That's fucking crazy. Imagine
Wait.
Bodhi Rook being like, well, I'm the only one who survived. Fuck. Oh my god.
Wait, I'm kind of obsessed with that.
Also, she is so taste.
That's flavor. And, I didn't ship her with a man, but I'll accept that one.
Yeah.
I just feel like that's just like, that's such a random one to go for. I'm like,
But it's
okay,
good.
yes. No, I was like, okay, I'm sad, but...
It's from Rogue One, and you were like, oh, it's not during the era of Rebels.
Well,
No, you did say it was during the era of Rebels, but it wasn't from Rebels.
Yeah.
That was deception.
Well, yeah, welcome. Sorry for the deception, Klaudia. Call me Elias fucking Bouchard. What the fuck?
First of all, it's apologies for the deception.
Well,
you
I'm an
dumb fuck.
American. I won't accept the fuck-ass British.
What the fuck is a kilometer? Anyway.
This is for Captain Cook, you stupid bitch.
Thank you so much for joining us this week for RuPaul's Pod Race. Keep an eye out on your podcatcher of choice for new episodes every week while we talk about the Acolyte. Also, as a reminder, we are trying to raise money for a family who is in Gaza right now trying to escape. It's Mohammed's fundraiser for himself, his daughter Noor, and mother Alia. We need to get it to 10K. The link to the fundraiser is in the show notes, so check it out. If you want updates from us, Star Wars news, whatever, you can follow us. We're on Instagram, Tumblr, TikTok, Twitter. We're at RuPaul's Pod Race everywhere. You can send us questions in our Tumblr Ask Box or our email, which is rupalspodrace@gmail.com. Please consider leaving a review. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, etc. We have a YouTube channel now, so you can comment on there, tell a friend, etc. If you want to hear more from us, you can hear Jess, who is not here today, as one of the cast members of the High Republic Tabletop RPG podcast for Light and Dice. You can also listen to the Mystery Spotcast, where Klaudia and I recap all of Supernatural so that you don't have to watch it. Links to both of those are in the show notes. May the Force be with you, and don't kriff it up.
Waka,
Waka waka.